It always starts the same way. You get fed up with feeling sluggish, tired, soft around the edges. You look in the mirror one morning and something clicks. That's it. You're done coasting through your days like a background character in your own life. So you do what most of us do. You Google a workout plan. You download the latest 6-day fat shredder or the high-intensity hardcore bulk program, and you dive in. Hard. Meet Tom. 42, corporate manager, father of 2. Once a high school athlete, now a man haunted by his younger, leaner self. The first week, Tom's alarm rings at 5:15 a.m. He throws back pre-workout like a ritual and drives to the gym in the dark. He squats, benches, deadlifts, curls as many exercises as he can fit before rushing back home to get the kids ready for school. He feels invincible, for now. By the second week, Tom is limping into meetings. His lower back aches, shoulders feel pinched, and the thought of waking up before dawn starts to gnaw at his willpower. But he powers through, believing pain equals progress. The program said 6 days. No rest, no excuses. By week 3, he skips a workout. Then 2. By week 5, the gym bag gathers dust. Tom is not lazy. He is not weak. He is a man who believed more was always better, and he paid for it with burnout. This is the hidden cost of doing too much. It's not just physical exhaustion. It's the quiet erosion of enthusiasm, the internal narrative that says, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. And that belief, it kills more goals than any injury ever will. We live in a world obsessed with excess. More reps, more sets, more hours. More hustle, more pressure. More results in less time. But somewhere along the way, we've confused effort with effectiveness. We wear fatigue like a badge of honor, even when it leads us straight into self-doubt. What if the real path to strength isn't about piling on more? What if it's about subtracting the unnecessary and focusing only on what truly matters? Enter the minimalist approach. This isn't about doing the least. It's about doing the right things with the greatest intention. It's about training smarter, not harder. And more than anything, it's about building something sustainable, a structure that doesn't collapse the moment life gets busy or motivation dips or reality shows up. In this series, we'll challenge everything you've been told about fitness. We'll strip away the noise, the gimmicks, the influencer fluff. We'll start with one core idea. Less can actually give you more. But before we talk sets, reps, and movement patterns, we need to reframe the foundation. Tom didn't fail because he lacked effort. He failed because he tried to build a skyscraper on sand. You don't need to go all in, all at once. You need to go deep, deliberately, like planting a seed that will eventually break concrete, not throwing down bricks in a storm hoping they stick. This is your invitation to slow down, step back, and ask, what's the least I can do to move forward consistently, powerfully, and with purpose? Let's begin. Anna was tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with sleep. A different kind. The kind that sits behind the eyes, beneath the skin. The kind that builds quietly over years of putting everyone else first. She was 35. A full-time nurse. Part-time mom, part-time everything. Life had become a carousel of chaos shifts. Laundry, errands, school pickups. Somewhere along the way, she stopped recognizing herself. Then one morning, her son tugged her arm and asked, "Mommy, why don't you smile like you used to?" That night, she stood in the mirror. She wasn't looking for abs or a transformation. She just wanted to feel alive again. The next day, she laced up her shoes and went for a walk. Not a jog, not a run, just 20 quiet minutes around the block. That was day 1. Here's what nobody tells you about the first 30 days of returning to your body. It's not just about building muscle or burning fat. It's about rebuilding trust between your body and your mind. At first, your muscles resist, your lungs protest, your habits scream, "Why are we doing this?" DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, sneaks in on day 2 like a cruel prank. Your legs feel like cinder blocks. Your back aches in places you forgot existed. But underneath the soreness, something stirs. You begin to wake up. Why? Because movement is more than mechanics. It is memory. Your body remembers what it means to be strong, stable, supported. Each rep, each step, reactivates circuits long dormant. You are not becoming something new. You are remembering what you once were. In the first 10 days, doubt is your biggest enemy. Not pain. Pain is straightforward. Doubt whispers, "Is this even doing anything?" You missed yesterday. Maybe you're not serious. You'll never stick with it. This is where the minimalist approach shines. You don't have to commit to 5 days a week. You don't need a 90-minute session. You need one small promise to yourself kept consistently. Anna made that promise. 20 minutes. That was it. She didn't worry about programs or calories or sweat. She focused on showing up even on days when the laundry screamed louder than her willpower. By day 14, something shifted. The pain didn't disappear, but it changed shape. It wasn't a punishment anymore. It was a signal her muscles were learning, adapting. Her mind was, too. Around day 21, Anna noticed how she started sleeping better. Her mood became lighter, less reactive. She smiled at a stranger in the grocery line and meant it. The change was quiet, internal, invisible to others. But she felt it. By day 30, she still didn't have abs. She didn't need them. What she had was something far more powerful. Belief. The belief that change didn't require punishment. That strength could be built one choice at a time. That discipline was not suffering. It was self-respect. This is the real awakening. Not the body alone, but the relationship between your effort and your identity. The first 30 days are less about transformation, more about realignment. You begin to act like the person you've always wanted to be. And then, quietly, you start to become them. The body follows the mind. The mind follows action. And action starts small. That's the essence of minimalist strength. Not loud, not viral, not flashy, but real, repeatable, resilient. The first 30 days will test you. But if you listen closely, they'll teach you something deeper. You don't need to change your life overnight. You just need to keep a promise to yourself today. Tom sat on a bench at the gym, frustrated. His towel soaked in sweat, earbuds dead, and his workout plan crumpled on the floor beside him. He had just spent 75 minutes hopping between machines doing a little bit of everything: bicep curls, leg press, cable flies, crunches. It looked like work. It felt like work. But something was off. There was no rhythm, no purpose, just motion. And when he looked in the mirror, the only thing he could see was exhaustion, without progress. That's when Eugene's voice echoed in his memory. Just because you're moving doesn't mean you're improving. Tom had flown across the world to train with Eugene, not for more variety, but for clarity. And that's exactly what he received. The foundation of minimalist training isn't just cutting exercises. It's building structure, knowing why you're doing what you're doing. So Eugene laid it out simply. Every effective training program should be built around a few core movement patterns. Not muscle groups, not trendy names, not what's burning on TikTok, but patterns. They are squat, hinge, lunge, push, horizontal and vertical, pull, horizontal and vertical, carry, rotate or stabilize. Nearly every exercise you've ever done fits into one of these. And once you know them, the chaos quiets. You no longer feel pressure to do every machine in the room. You start to think like a craftsman, precise, intentional. So Tom rebuilt his plan. Instead of doing 5 random leg machines, he focused on one powerful squat variation, barbell, goblet, or even split squat, depending on the day. Instead of exhausting himself with back-to-back bicep exercises, he asked a better question. How can I push and pull with intent, across full ranges, with stability? It was no longer about feeling sore. It was about building patterns his body would recognize and trust, not just for aesthetics, but for life. Because real strength doesn't end in the gym. It shows up when you lift your kid without straining, when you carry groceries in one trip, When you get up from a deep couch without feeling old, this is where focus becomes your power. You focus not just on what you're doing, but what you're no longer wasting time on. No redundant exercise. No random supersets. No guessing. Then comes the next pillar. Progress. Progress doesn't always mean lifting heavier. Sometimes it means performing the same movement with better control, more stability, less compensation. Sometimes it means reducing rest time or adding a slight pause at the bottom of each rep. Progress is about deliberate overload, small, sustainable nudges that your body can adapt to. Eugene said it best. If you're not tracking what you're doing, you're just exercising, not training. So Tom began to log every session. Not obsessively, but attentively. Reps, weights, how it felt. He started noticing things. That his overhead press was limited not by strength, but by shoulder mobility. That his hinge felt more powerful after deadlifting barefoot. That the movements he once skipped were the ones he needed most. His workouts were shorter, often just 40 minutes, but they began to feel like chapters in a story, not scattered pages. And over time, those chapters started to add up. This is the power of training, with focus, progress, and pattern. It's not glamorous, but it's transformative. It brings you out of autopilot and into awareness. It moves you from chaos to craft, from random effort to refined evolution. And perhaps most importantly, it frees up energy to live the rest of your life more fully. Because when your training has structure, your mind does too. Anna never imagined that 60 minutes a week could change her life. She had always believed what most of us were told, that fitness had to consume you to transform you, that if you weren't dripping in sweat for at least an hour a day, it didn't count, that more was the only way. But now, standing in her kitchen, sipping tea after a short 30-minute resistance session, she felt stronger not just in her body, but in her ownership of time. It started when Eugene shared a study that floored her. 60 minutes. That's all it took to unlock nearly all the major health span benefits of strength training: lower mortality risk, reduced chance of heart disease, stronger bones, better hormone function. Not 5 hours a week, not daily sessions. Just one focused hour, broken into 2 or 3 small doses. This wasn't guesswork, it was science. And it changed everything. So, she asked herself, if 1 hour could shift my entire future, what if I actually committed to it, like my life depended on it? Because in a way it did. Anna didn't aim for intensity. She aimed for consistency. She broke the hour into 2 sessions, one full-body strength circuit using dumbbells and body weight, and another focused on mobility and balance. Each session took 30 minutes. Some days, she did it early. Others, in between chores. She didn't need perfect conditions, just presence. What surprised her most wasn't just the physical changes. It was how her brain began to change. She felt less reactive, more grounded. Her thoughts had more space. She responded instead of overreacting. She started walking taller, not because of posture, but because of peace. Minimalist training wasn't just a method. It became a mirror showing her how many areas of her life had been cluttered by shoulds and musts. The 60-minute mindset began bleeding into her work, her parenting, her relationships. She realized she didn't have to say yes to every favor. She didn't need to multitask herself into exhaustion. She could choose the essential and let the rest go. This is what science often misses in its data points. The emotional freedom that comes with clarity of effort. Minimal effective dose isn't just about training. It's a philosophy. It says, you don't need to do it all. You just need to do enough. Consistently, consciously, courageously. Anna's hour became her anchor, not just for strength, but for sanity. And by month 3, her doctor noticed lower blood pressure, better sleep, weight loss. But Anna noticed something more profound. She was no longer surviving her days. She was inhabiting them. The truth is, most people don't quit fitness because they're lazy. They quit because they believe they have to go all in or not at all. because no one ever told them that 1 hour a week could lead to years of difference. So, here's the invitation. Instead of asking, "Can I go all out?" ask, "What's the least I can do to keep going, keep growing, and keep coming back?" Because the smallest effort, repeated with care, becomes the strongest signal to your future self. You are worthy of transformation. And it doesn't require everything, just what matters most. Tom used to think strength was something you chased, something you earned through sweat and soreness, heavy bars, and punishing schedules. But as he stood in his garage one Sunday morning, barefoot on a rubber mat, doing a slow set of kettlebell deadlifts while his kids played nearby, he realized something strange. Strength had stopped being a goal. It had become a habit, and that changed everything. The kettlebell wasn't just a weight anymore. It was a doorway into rhythm, into self-respect, into a mindset where effort wasn't a transaction for physical reward. It was an expression of who he was becoming. 3 months ago, Tom believed he needed 6 workouts a week to make progress. Now, he trains 3 times, sometimes 2, never more than 40 minutes. And yet, he feels stronger, more stable, more grounded than ever before. Why? Because he stopped treating fitness like a campaign, something with a start and finish, and started treating it like a pillar, something he builds his life around. It wasn't instant. There were still moments of doubt, days when the temptation to skip appeared, days when results didn't show in the mirror. But over time, a deeper motivation emerged. Identity. Tom no longer worked out because he wanted to get in shape. He trained because he was a person who took care of himself. That's who he was now. That was the shift. This is what happens when fitness becomes a way of life. It becomes quiet, integrated. It no longer screams for attention. It whispers self-trust. You stop relying on hype and start leaning on systems. He no longer needed playlists to hype him up. He needed space to breathe. A timer, a notebook, a set of movements that felt like ritual, familiar, fulfilling. Strength training, in its minimalist form, had simplified his entire routine and in doing so, expanded his capacity for everything else. That's the secret most people miss. Fitness doesn't need to take over your life to transform it. It only needs to be consistent enough to hold space in your life. A space that gets stronger, not louder. When strength is no longer about ego, it becomes something far more enduring. It becomes legacy. Tom started showing his kids how to squat and do push-ups. Not to make them athletes, but to plant the seed early. That movement is normal. That effort is healthy. That self-care is not selfish. And quietly, something even bigger happened. He stopped looking for quick wins and started playing the long game. Because the strongest version of you isn't the one who lifts the most weight. It's the one who shows up year after year through seasons, setbacks, and storms. And when fitness becomes part of who you are, you stop negotiating with it. It's not if I feel like it. It's this is what I do. That's not rigidity. That's freedom. Anna used to measure progress in pounds lost, inches trimmed, compliments received. Now, she measures it in peace, in how calmly she starts her day, in how her knees don't ache climbing stairs, in how she sets boundaries, sleeps better, breathes deeper. She doesn't check the scale anymore. She checks her schedule to make sure she's made time for herself. And when she does, even for 30 quiet minutes, something within her realigns. That's what fitness becomes after the storm passes. Not a pursuit of change, but a return to center. The new version of you doesn't look dramatically different from the outside, but inside, there is harmony. Your body isn't fighting your mind. Your habits aren't betraying your goals. Your effort is no longer scattered, it is channeled. You're not chasing perfection. You're practicing alignment. You move with intention. You rest without guilt. You lift without punishment. You walk with strength that isn't loud, but undeniable. Minimalist strength training has this way of revealing the essential. In exercise, in life, in self-worth. Because when you strip away the distractions, the 12-week transformations, the comparison traps, the influencer noise, you're left with the most honest version of movement. Effort plus presence plus patience equals transformation. This is not about becoming someone else. This is about finally meeting yourself, the version of you who has always been capable, calm, and in control. Once you got rid of everything that diluted that truth, you'll find that training with fewer exercises, less pressure, less perfectionism gives you more time, more clarity, more energy for things that truly matter, more joy in showing up, even on your worst days. Binao, Anna doesn't need motivation. She has momentum, and that momentum has bled into every corner of her life. Parenting, work, mental health, relationships. Not because she trained harder, but because she trained smarter. And more importantly, because she stayed. She didn't quit on herself. And that single truth that she's still here changed everything. We live in a world that glorifies more. More goals, more hustle, more pressure, more noise. But there's a quiet rebellion growing. A rebellion of the focused, the intentional, the calm. People who no longer ask, how much can I do? They ask, what's the smallest thing I can do consistently to change my life? And they do it. They train for 20 minutes instead of skipping altogether. They choose 5 movements over 15. They progress in quiet notebooks, not viral highlight reels. They rest when needed, push when possible, and show up either way. They are not the loudest in the room. They are the most resilient. Minimalist strength training isn't a shortcut. It's a commitment to clarity. It says, you don't need more time. You need fewer distractions. You need to stop negotiating with your health. You need to start honoring the body you've been given, not with punishment, but with practice. This approach isn't about what you can lift. It's about what you can carry through chaos, through change, through life. And the truth is, the strongest version of you isn't hiding behind more. It's waiting patiently in less. So strip it down. Start with one breath, one rep, one step, and then repeat. Not because it's easy, but because it works. And the life you've been chasing, it's already inside you waiting to be uncovered. One small, smart, consistent effort at a time.